Hi everyone, welcome back to the Relax and Craft YouTube channel. My name's Fleur and today we're going to learn how to make this gorgeous macrame and metal rondelle bracelet. So this is like a seamless bracelet where you can see the macrame starts and then seems to end without it actually ending and having to stop and start your macrame, and then carry on seamlessly on the other side of the rondelles. Now there are some kits for this available. If there are any left at the time of you watching this, they will be on the link in the description below. There are a few different gemstone choices. There is the sodalite, the green aventurine, rose quartz and fancy jasper. You also get your cord and your rondelles with them. But if you've got all the components at home, or you want to make your own centre bar with wire work or silver work, whatever you're sort of like you want to have in the middle, then obviously you can just use this tutorial to create something that looks just like this. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a threading material. I'm using 0.8 braided cord here. So a threading material that will go through your center section or to hold your center section in place, and also will go through your rondelles. Okay, so you're going to need it's usually sort of like 3 times the amount of what you're working on. So I would say if you had a meter of cord, you would be absolutely fine doing this bracelet on either side. So say sort of like a meter on either side, and you'll be fine, and then the rest that you cut off you can use for your little sliding bar, your Solomon's bar. Tool wise, you're going to need a macrame board, so something like this. Again, if you don't have a macrame board, if you check the links in the description below, you'll be able to find one. Something like your cord scissors. I use the Jewellery cord scissors, or just a pair of scissors. Again, you'll be able to find those in the description below. And a thread zapper or something to cut and seal the ends of your cord. With the rondelles, you're going to need rondelles that you can put your cord through at least 4 times. Okay, so you're going to need 4 times to be able to go through your little rondelles there. So as long as they've got quite a big aperture on them, you'll be fine. So as you can see here, I've just got mixed metal ones. The ones that come in the kit are mixed metal as well, so you get 6 of each colour, so you can create the nice side profile with the 3 colours. And get it to focus. Okay, so I've not put any on the ends here, but obviously you can have some left over. You can put them on the ends if you want to. So that's all we're going to need. We don't need any jewellery making pliers or anything like that. It is quite a simple macrame technique. I do have a get started in macrame YouTube video, which I will place somewhere at the top of the screen here now. So if you've never made macrame before, then obviously you can go and watch that, just so it sort of like gets you a little bit up to date with how to do your basic square stitch or your square knot, because that's all we're doing with this tutorial. Right, I'm going to get everything set up and I'll meet you back here when you've got everything set up. Okay, so I've attached my cord, my lazy strands, to the actual center bracelet bar. So in this case they go in through the side and out through the back, and folded it over. So I've got double the amount of cord on either side. So I've got 2 lazy strands, if you like, going through each one. And what I want to do now is attach a rondelle onto both of those, just so we've got a nice starting point. So whichever rondelles you're using, you can then just add them straight on to your 2 lazy strands. So I'm going to pop one on one side and just put both the strands through. Like I say, just make sure that your aperture in your hole in the rondelle is large enough to take at least the 4 cords that we're going to need. So that is now attached onto one side, and I'm just going to repeat that for the other side. So like I say, if you've got the kit and you want to use the different coloured rondelles, you can sort of like use whichever colour you want. Let's get that one in there, like so. Bring that down so they're both equal. And then we're going to attach this onto our board. So I'm going to just attach the top. So I'm going to be working on the bottom first, so the top can go quite close to the top, and I'm just weaving that in and out the top just so it doesn't go anywhere. Don't worry if it's not like secure, as in like it's still moving around and this rondelle's moving around. We're not working on that part just yet. So we'll just bring this one down and we'll just secure this into the bottom. So I'm just going up and around that bottom section there. So we're going to work on this side first. So I've got my working strand here, and again this is going to work out as 3 times the amount that we're doing on the side. Now don't forget, we're only doing a small amount on the side because this is only half of our bracelet, so we're only going to be doing a couple of inches of macrame, so you don't need an awful lot for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to do our macrame square knots. So if you've never done them before, like I say, I do suggest watching the Get Started with Macrame video that I've done. I'll just do a very, very quick overview. So we have a left and a right side, and for each square knot we need a knot to the left, and a knot to the left. So the first thing we're going to do is make a letter P with the right hand strand as it comes across. We're then going to take our left hand strand and we bring that over the top of where the right hand strand is on the left, and then underneath the bridge of where the letter P is formed and that lazy strand is. So we're going to go under the bridge and into the letter P, and we're just going to bring that and tighten it up. Now make sure that you've got equal amounts of cord on either side and tighten that up. Now we want this to be quite tight and push that bead right up towards that gemstone bar so that there's no movement in that bead there. And then we're going to do one to the left, so we're going to create a letter Q. We're going to bring the strand that's on the right over the top of the letter Q tail, and then under the bridge where they both cross over into the letter Q and tighten. Okay, so that is one full square knot. So I've done a knot to the left, there we go, and a knot to the right. So I'm just going to zoom in just so you can see the next one a little bit closer. So again, I'm going to form my letter P and then under the bridge with my left hand strand and pull tight. Try not to pull too tight. We don't want anything to sort of like buckle or pucker up. We want it to be nice and sort of sitting flat. So next is my letter Q. Bring the right hand strand over the top and then under the bridge into the letter Q and tighten. And then again, so that's my second full knot. And then again my letter P. Bring the left hand strand over the top, under the bridge and into that letter P and pull tight. Now if you forget which way you're going, if I just bring this closer, it's always the side with the bar that is lowest. So if we look at the side of the sort of like square knots that we're making, we can see these little vertical bars. So whichever one's got the bar on that side, that's the side that you're going to do next. So if you ever forget which side you're working on, it's always the side with the bar. So I can see there's a bar here, there's not a bar on this side, so it must be this side that I'm working on. So again, my letter Q and under the bridge and pull tight. So I'm going to do this for another couple of square knots. So I'm going to just do another 2 square knots. Now it's very important that we remember how many square knots we've done so that we can match it up on the other side, or that you can see these bars on the side so that you can count them down. So at the minute I've got 4 bars on this side, so I'm going to have 5 bars before I then go to my next stage. Okay, so we can see, yeah, and then I'll just do the last one on this side to finish off my full square knot. And so I've got that nice, just an inch of my macrame. Now what we want to do is we're going to add on our rondelles. Now ordinarily what we would do is we would cut these cords off here, seal them, and then start another piece of macrame here, but I wanted it to be seamless all the way through, hence why these rondelles have to be able to take 4 cords. So what we're going to do is we're going to just unhook the bottom. We're going to place our rondelles, so whichever colours you're going for, we're going to place our rondelles onto our lazy strand, the same as what we did at the start. So just through one and the other lazy strand. So I've got both of those. Ooh, it's slippery. There we go. There we go, both on there. So we've got our both the lazy strands going through, and now we're going to take our working strands through as well. So just take your time with this. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, especially if there's not a lot of room in the beads that you're using. But just going to place all 4 cords, so both lazy strands and your working strands, through. I'm just going to add this one through. Now if you do have like a needle with a collapsible eye, sometimes that can help you, but if you've got one of the kits, they do go through quite easily. And we're going to push that right up so it's sitting next to our macrame, and then we're going to repeat that with our next few beads. Now it's up to you how many beads you put on the side. I've just used 2 of each colour, so I've just used 2 of the silver, 2 rose gold, and then 2 gold, just to give it a nice sort of like inch of metal there as well. So I'm going to place all them on, and then we're going to carry on. So I'll meet you back here when I've got all of those 6 beads in place. So I've now got all 6 of those beads in place, and now what we need to do is just make sure that we've got our 2 working strands, so they will usually be longer than your lazy strands, and I'm just going to attach back in my in fact I think I've got the wrong, no that's fine, I'm just going to attach back in my lazy strands in the bottom, and then all we need to do is carry on now doing our square knots till we've got the desired length of this side. And again, just make note of how many knots you've done so we can replicate that on the other side. Now what I would say is, don't forget, if you're using one of these bracelet bars, then this does take up quite a bit of the distance of your bracelet. If we look at the finished bracelet here and we break it down into parts, we want our finished part bracelet to be, say, let's say 7 inches. So if we've got over an inch here, an inch here and here, 1 here and here, we don't need very much left here, and then obviously our sliding knot as well. So just try and sort of like work out how much you're going to need on either side. We won't finish off either side until we've done the other side, and then if we do need to take some of the knots out, we can do. But yeah, if you just keep the sort of like the first section to be quite small, unless it's a larger bracelet that you're making, then obviously you can scale it up as you wish. But as you can see here, I've only got sort of like double the amount of macrame here as I have here. So I've probably got 10 full square knots here and 5 here. So I'm just going to go ahead now and make that, and then I'm going to replicate what I've done so far on the other side, and I'll meet you back here when I've got the whole sort of like bare bones of the bracelet finished, and then we'll show you how you can finish it off into your Solomon's bar and how to make those lovely leaves on the end. So I've gone ahead and I've matched either side up, so I've got exactly the same amount of square knots on either side in each section. So I can now go ahead and cut away and seal my working strands. So these are the strands that have actually formed the square knots. So you can either use something like a thread zapper, or you can use some glue or some clean air varnish if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and use a thread zapper. So just make sure that you isolate the cord that you're going to be using, or trimming away. Cut away that cord just so there's less than 1 millimetre sticking out, and then I'm just going to go in with my thread zapper and just melt that down, and then I just like to give it a little tap in on the other side. I'm going to turn my work over. I always like to cut the strands off where they are exiting upwards. If I just show you, you can see here this one's coming out of the top. So again, isolate that strand so we don't cut anything else or burn anything else. And I'm just going to go and cut that away, less than 1 mil, and then again just zapper that down and push it into the side, so they're now sealed, and we've then got a nice neat finish. And I'm just going to quickly do the same on the other side. So look for the side where it's exiting out of the top. So you can see this one's exiting out the top, this one is coming out of the bottom. So I'm just going to take the one that's on the top on this side. And don't throw away these little these end bits of cord, because that's what we're going to use to make our Solomon's bar in a minute. Again, just giving that a little zap down, and just do this last one. If you leave too much, then it can leave a bit of a blob of melted cord, so just under 1 millimetre, and then that will just push in nice and neatly onto the side. So I've now got my bracelet with my 2 lazy strands. So what I can do now is I'm going to now start to add the little leaves on the bottom. So this is just a really nice way of finishing off your pieces of your end cords, your lazy cords, and these are going to act as stoppers when we do our Solomon's bar, so that nothing will come through and it won't all fall apart. So a really nice little touch. Now you can, if you want to, put one of your rondelles on here, or a bead as well, just to help weight it down. That's up to you, but I'm going to just do one without to start with. Now these do take a little bit of practice, so don't worry if you don't get them straight away. Now I'm not going to put the Solomon's bar on first, I'm going to actually make the leaves to start with. So I'm going to take the 2 lazy strands and I'm just going to bring them around over the top of each other. Now I've made my loop about 1 inch long. So I've got 1 inch long loop there, and I'm just holding it at the top. Now all I want to do is start to do like a basket weave going through. So I'm going to take the 2 ends of cord and just making that loop. I'm just going to start to bring the cords up through the middle of that loop, and then just pull it down. Okay, so I've come round from the left and up through the middle of the loops, and then I'm going to take the 2 same ends and I'm going to come up through around the right hand side. Okay, and each time I'm just swapping my hands over and I'm just pulling that down so that it's sitting on top of each other. I'm just going to zoom in really close so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see we're just wrapping it around the edges of the loop so that it's coming out through the middle. So I'm going to come around the left hand side and up through the middle of the loop with both cords. So just make sure that it's both cords that you're coming up through the middle. Now you can do this with just 1 strand, obviously, if you've just got 1 lazy strand. So both up through the middle And you can see, if I just bring that a little bit closer, so you can see how that's just wrapped around there. Try and keep them side by side if you can, because that just helps with the neatness of your leaf. So I'm just going to make sure that they're sitting side by side. Okay, so I'm going to again I'm up through the middle, and this time I'm going to go around the right side with both of my cords and into the middle. So you can see how this is starting to build up, and around the left hand side with both of the cords, and each time I'm just pulling the strands down and holding the loop taut in my opposite hand. So I'm switching hands every time, and that's just going to help with the tension of these little leaves. So again, through the middle and pull down. Now we don't want too larger leaves, so I'm just going to do one more around the left side and pull down. So now I've got my loop at the top, my cords have wrapped around like an S shape or figure of 8 around the sides of the cords. So I'm just going to hold on to those cords, and taking that leaf, I'm just going to start to push it up to the end of where I'm holding. And you can see now how you've created, you just take a little bit longer than I have just to make sure that it's nice and neat, but you've now created your little leaf on one side, and we've got a nice gap there so that we can then put our Solomon's bar on and it still be able to fit. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So taking our cords, I'm just wrapping it around my finger, so I've got about an inch long loop, and again we're going to start to just come around each of the sides. So I've gone around the left side to start with and up through the middle, and I'm now going to go around the right side. Oops. You can always make your loop the same, the correct size again. So around and through. Now we do ideally need to count how many times we've gone around and through, so that we've got equal amounts on either side. So again, just making sure that that loop stays the same size, so it does slide up and down. You can just make sure that it's the correct size, and if it gets a little bit stuck and you're not sure which section's going where, just take your time just to sort everything out. So you can see I've just sorted that back out. Make sure my loop's still about my inch long loop, and then through into the middle and pull down. So just taking your time, and through the middle and pull down. So we're always going around the side and pulling down, and I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit. So I'm just going to make sure that everything's nice and tight. So like I say, you would take a little bit longer than I have just to make sure that they're nice and neat, but just for demo purposes, I'm just going to do just one more through onto this right hand side. So just feeding it back up through the middle. And pull it down. Okay, so we've got our little wraps either side around, and last time I did finish on going around the left hand side, so let's just finish this one around the left hand side just so it's nice and equal, like so. And then holding on to the ends of your cord, we're then just going to push that leaf all the way up to the top, and just make sure that you just push it and squidge it with your fingers just so that it's nice and equal. And like I say, these aren't perfect because this is just demo pieces, but then you should have the same amount of cord on either side of your Solomon's bar. And then what we can do now is place our Solomon's bar onto here. So before I do that, I'm just going to trim these 4 pieces of cord away. And I'm just going to seal them with my thread zapper so that they don't come undone. Like so. Like I say, you just make sure that everything's nice and neat. If you need to undo one of your sides, you can do. I'm just going to bring back my macrame board and I'm just going to place either side. So I'm taking one side down and then placing the other side next to it so that I've got all 4 of my lazy strands in the middle. Now taking a piece of cord that we used earlier, that we cut off earlier, we're just going to now just do a couple of our square knots over all 4 of our lazy strands, and this is going to create our Solomon's bar. So exactly the same as before. If you don't have a piece that's long enough, you can always cut yourself a new piece of cord. So starting with the letter P, we're just going to go through and create just a few of our little knots, our little square knots, and this will slide up and down and act as the clasp. So if you have sort of misjudged how much macrame you've got on your sides and the sides aren't long enough for your bracelet, then what you can do is make this Solomon's bar a little bit bigger. Or if you've got enough of your macrame, then obviously you can make this a little bit smaller, but you're going to need at least 3 square knots just to make it so that it's easy to slide up and down. So I'm just going to do one more on this side because I don't need that big a little sliding bar. And I am running out of cord. So before we trim those 2 edges away, we're just going to make sure that this slides, which it does, so everything slides nicely through. So that's perfect. And then I can go ahead and just get rid of these 2 working cords. So just taking my thread scissors and just zap that down. Now if you're using glue on this, just be careful that you don't glue the actual sliding knot onto the lazy cords, because then it won't slide. And again with this side, and just thread zap that down and push it in. And there we have our beautiful macrame bracelet bar with our lovely rondelle sides and our double leaves on the end. Let me just zoom out so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. So all you can do now is place it on your wrist and then just holding on to each leaf, you're just going to tighten that down till it's the correct length for you, and there you've got your gorgeous bracelet bar with your little Solomon's bar at the back and your little leaves. Really beautiful. Thanks ever so much for watching this short video on how to create your gorgeous macrame and gemstone bar bracelet. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification for all, and you'll then be notified whenever I drop a new tutorial, unboxing or tool review. So until the next video, thank you very much for watching. Take time for yourself, get some crafting done, and I'll see you soon.